Assalamu alaikum, dear listeners. How are you doing all? I'm sure you're all fine. Welcome to another episode of English Podcast with Asif. Thank you very much for joining in again. Ladies and gentlemen, these podcasts aim at helping you to be a fluent English speaker who doesn't only speak with confidence but also speaks sense and speaks persuasively. It's not important only to be able to speak in English, but you have got to be able to speak something which is convincing, which is impressive. You say something, maybe brief or in detail, it cuts the ice. Maybe you are there for a job interview, or you're delivering a speech, a public speech, or you're just talking to a friend or an acquaintance. You should be able to make an impression. You should be able to impress the interviewer. You should be able to persuade and motivate your audience when you speak in public. And you should succeed in making a connection and improve your relationships through conversation. And there are many ways to attain that level where you are impressive. You are not only talking in English, but you are also impressive, you are convincing. The words you speak are powerful. The sentences you utter are convincing and persuasive. There are many ways, guys, I said, to attain that level, and one of them, I suppose the most important, is reading fiction, like short stories, novels and dramas, because they enable you to be persuasive. To talk about the significance and how is it going to help us to be a better analyzer, to be a better speaker, we have with us today an extraordinary student, Haya Javid. Ladies and gentlemen, Haya is though an avid science student, but her passion for literature is never ending. Her personality is balanced with the rationality of science and sensibility of literature. Another fact about Haya is that she achieved first position all over Kashmir in board exams of matriculation in 2018. Now she studies in class 12th. So listen to her till end. If you're not able to understand everything, that's absolutely fine, because you are right now doing the step of listening. And like a small kid who is just born, doesn't understand any language, he starts listening, rather he's bound to listen. He doesn't understand each and everything, but he still listens. A time comes when he is able to understand what is uttered to him, and eventually he is able to speak. Watch till end, and after Haya is done with speaking about the importance of reading fiction, I shall be answering a very important question that has been posted by Nisar Ahmed Dar. Thank you very much, dear, for this question. The question is, a person is able to understand 70 or to 80% of English, but he isn't able to speak the same. And most of us are suffering from the same problem. He asks, so what should we do? I shall be answering this question. This is a very important question. I again thank you for asking this wonderful question. This is going to help a lot of students to understand the steps which are they supposed to go through in order to be a fluent speaker. So I ask Haya to speak. Thank you very much, Haya, for joining us.
Hello everyone. This is Haya. Thank you so much, Asif sir, for allowing me to be a part of this podcast. Today, I shall be speaking about reading fiction and the importance of reading fiction. I'm going to begin by posing an argument. Reading fiction is important. Everyone can agree that reading is an important component in developing a successful life, because it sharpens your intellect and builds your knowledge set. It seems almost universal that the more successful you are, the more you read. However, this focus on reading is one-dimensional. People get caught up in non-fiction like self-help books, business books, books on sales, books on health and relationships. These are all valid books to spend your time reading. They are filled with information that can help better you in your career and your life. But it's a mistake to leave fiction in the dust. Why? Because fiction enriches your lives in 1,000 ways. Fiction helps you understand other people's perspectives. Fiction has a power that no other form of communication does. The power to insert you fully and completely in someone else's mind. It is a meld between the mind of the reader and the writer, and the minds of reader and character. When you read fiction, you are seeing the world through a character's eyes. Watching a character interact with the world around them is powerful. When studying history, a history book gives you a series of dry facts. But historical fiction sets you down in the middle of that time period, allows you to touch and taste the world around you, interact with contemporaries and solve problems. You understand the period contextually as you never could from the removed perspective of a history book. When you read fiction, you can be someone you would never otherwise have the chance to become. Another gender, another age, someone of another nationality or another circumstance. You can be an explorer, a scientist, an artist, a single parent, an orphaned child, or a soldier. When you take off the guise again, set down the book, you walk away changed. You understood things you didn't understand before, and that shapes your worldview. Fiction allows you to look at the world in an entirely different light. When you read fiction, you are looking at the world through someone else's eyes. It could be argued that this is true of all writing, and this argument would be true, but fiction does something unique that all other forms cannot. It takes us inside the mind and the perspective of a character. You're seeing a world defined on their terms, their metaphors used to describe their surroundings, their context for events, their perspective on happenings and relationships. Fiction grows your capacity for empathy. Imagining creates understanding. Multiple studies have shown that imagining stories helps activate the regions of the brain responsible for better understanding of others and seeing the world from a new perspective. In the words of Anne Patchett, an American author, reading fiction not only develops our imagination and creativity, it gives us the skills to be alone. It gives us the ability to feel empathy for people we have never met, living lives we couldn't possibly experience for ourselves, because the book puts us inside the character's skin. Books are a reality simulator. Life is complicated. Oftentimes, interpersonal relationships and challenges don't have the simple resolutions that we might like them to have. How can we become more accepting of this reality? By using fiction to explore ideas of change and complex emotions. Novels, stories, and dramas can help us understand these complexities of social life. Fiction allows for uncertainty, and uncertainty is where creativity thrives. Reading fiction is an extremely immersive experience. Scientific studies tell us that our brains react the same way when we read a fictional experience as they would if we were actually going through that experience ourselves. Our brains are always looking ahead, trying to fill in gaps in knowledge with possibilities because we don't like to be left in the unknown. That's why someone can pick up a novel, start reading it, and finish it several hours later. They simply had to know what happens. This is very important for our problem-solving skills. Characters in a story are perpetually presented with problems, and the whole story is about them exploring and discovering solutions to their problems. So when we read a story, our brain journeys with the character, which means we are exercising our problem-solving skills, and exercise only makes them stronger. Nothing, in my opinion, sums up this idea better than this famous quote by George R.R. Martin. He says that a reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies, and the one who doesn't read lives only one. Reading fiction is a valuable use of time. Reading fiction produces other benefits as well, such as increasing your vocabulary, relieving stress, improving your memory, and even helping you to sleep better. Reading non-fiction is great too, but if you want to read something that will help you better understand people and the world around you, there's nothing like walking a mile or two in a fictional character's shoes. That's all from me. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something new. If you found this useful, then please click the subscribe button to show your support. Thanks again for listening.
Thank you, Haya, for your time and for this wonderful information about the importance of fiction reading. So reading fiction is very important. That makes you a good person. You're able to understand things in a deeper level. Okay, so better start reading something. I suggest a few books here, and I've already posted a video in YouTube. The link is given in the description box. You can watch the video. I have recommended almost 10 books for the beginners. If you are the beginner in reading, then you must read those 10 books. The link is given in the description box. So I shall be mentioning only 3 books that you must read, or that you should begin with. The first one is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, a wonderful book, easy to understand, and there is a lot of conversation also between the characters given, so you understand how to converse with each other. Book number 2 I suggest is The Half Mother by Shahnaz Bashir. I suggest you to read it. And book number 3, my favorite, The 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak. These books are very easy to begin with. Now coming to the question, a person is able to understand 70 to 80% of English, but he isn't able to speak the same. So what should he do? Nisar Ahmed Dar, thank you again for asking this question. Now, the first thing I would like to tell those people who understand English but they are not able to speak, the first thing I'm going to tell them is to congratulate them. I congratulate you for being able to understand English almost 70 to 80%, whosoever you hear. Okay, this is the first step and this is an achievement. Okay, this is actually half of the job is done. Now what to do in order to be able to speak? Now the aim is to be able to speak. So in order to do that, you have to get familiar with the structure of language, with the sentences, with the expressions. You have to get adapted with the sounds of language. In other words, say that you have to hammer down the structure of language into your mind. You have to hammer it down. So for that very purpose, listening has to be done on a regular basis. If you think that you understand English, now you don't need to listen and you're going to be able to speak English, then you're wrong about it. You have to regularly listen to the language like you listen to your mother tongue, and that's how you're able to speak fluently in your mother tongue. If you yourself stop talking or listening to your own mother tongue for a month or two, you will see that you'll be fumbling after 2 months in speaking your own mother tongue. Okay, so listening is must you keep on listening wherever you are. You can listen to these podcasts whether you are driving or you're about to sleep. Before you sleep, you can listen to these podcasts or any other podcast. Okay, I don't demand you to listen to my podcasts only. You can listen to any speaker. The aim is to be able to listen. Okay, so wherever you listen, whenever you listen, so it's absolutely fine. You are eating and you can plug in the earphones in your ears, and then you can keep on listening. So wherever you are, it's not a big deal to do that. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is to keep on listening on everyday basis. Okay, at least dedicate an hour or two in listening to the language. It will serve as a stimulus, and automatically, because when you take care of a plant, you water it, you do certain things that you are supposed to do, you will get the fruits. Okay, so unless you put an input, you cannot expect output. So on regular basis, you have to keep on listening. Number 2, I suggest don't be conscious about grammar initially. So if you are trying to speak in English or any other language, and if you become conscious about the verbs and nouns, what comes first, a verb or a noun, then take it as assurance that you are not going to learn speaking, because you are conscious about grammar. You'll be conscious about the mistakes, you'll be conscious about insult. Okay, so you will not be able to speak like we talk our mother tongue. Okay, are we conscious about grammar, what comes first, a verb or a noun? No, but still we speak fluently, because the reason is we are not conscious about grammar. Okay, number 3 is to try to speak without fear of insult or a mistake. Allow yourself to commit mistakes, then and only then you are going to learn. Okay, you have to be like a child who listens, who copies, who attempts, who speaks, and that's how you are going to do. You don't have to be afraid of mistakes, you don't have to be afraid of errors, you don't have to be afraid of insults. Like I say, in other words, you have got to be insult proof. Okay, so congratulations for being able to understand whatever you listen to in English. Now number 2, you have to get familiar with the structure of language. Number 3, you don't have to be conscious about grammar. And number 4, you have to try to speak. Listening and speaking should go together. Okay, and language learning takes time. We learned around 2-3 words. So the first one was an idiom. Idiom is actually a group of words which give the figurative meaning. Okay, cut the ice means have an influence. Okay, if you say that his speech cut the ice, that means his speech made an impression. Okay, so, or you can say it did not cut an ice, so that means it did not make any impression. Okay, it made it made a bad impression. Okay, this was number 1. Number 2 is acquaintance. Acquaintance are the people who you know. Okay, one are friends. Okay, who you meet, who you talk to on daily basis or on regular basis. But acquaintance are those who you just have seen once or twice and you know them. Okay, they are acquaintance. Okay, persuade means to convince. Persuade means to convince. So that's it as far as today's podcast is concerned. Thank you very much again for listening to us. I seek your suggestions, your questions, whatsoever. So please like the video and comment your suggestions. And if you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you very much. God be with you.